Hey guys, Aqua Duelist here, bringing you a Cyber Angel deck profile. I actually made this deck a few months after, a little bit after Links came out. A little bit before last year's Megatons, actually. Because I remember when I was getting testing stuff for the last few slots I had. I remember trying Pod Desires, and it wasn't good in this deck. But so it was around that time. I took it apart and recently put this back together. I kept all the stuff for it. Playing with it. I know this isn't the absolute most best build, and the reason why is because I do run Sapphira, just because I like Sapphira. But I might make another version of this in the future using the new incantations, give that a try. But without further ado, let's go into the deck profile. So we run 3 Cyber Angel Ben 10s. Sadly, does not have the same effects as in the show, where Ben 10 can turn into 10 different aliens and such. But essentially, what you do is you use her as ritual fodder, and you search for another was it light ritual? Just light fairy. My bad. Just light fairy to your hand if she's attributed for ritual material. And then we have 2 E10s. Essentially, this card, what she does is when she is attributed as material, all ritual monsters on the field gain 1,000 attack and defense. If this card is ritual summoned, you add 1 ritual spell card. Essentially, what's in case in your hand, if you have these 2 and a Machine Angel ritual, what I usually do is pitch this, summon this, and get the ritual monster I want. And I run 2 Herald Perfections. Most Cyber Angel decks run 3, but because I run Sapphira, I downed this 2. And if you don't know what this does, essentially you discard a card, discard a fairy from your hand, and basically get negate, or just negate pretty much anything, just about, and it's not once per turn. And then I guess you could say spicy tech is Sapphira, Queen of the Dragons. If she's ritual summoned, she has 3 effects. I just use the first one typically. You can draw 2 cards, discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, or add 1 light monster from your graveyard to your hand. And you can also use that effect if a light monster was sent from from your hand to grave. So if you used Honest that turn, or had that out, or had her and a Herald Perfection out, if you use his effect, or Herald Perfection's effect at the end turn, you can essentially add that back to your hand, or add back the card you attributed from your graveyard, or you used, or whatever. Essentially, I mainly just use the draw 2, discard 1 to unbreak my hand and draw more fairies, and then standard any ritual deck you run 3 Manju. Light Fairy, you normal summon it, and you can add a ritual monster, ritual spell to hand, Sadly, you don't get that effect when normal or special summoned. If it did, that would be absolutely amazing and make this deck much more consistent. I run 3 Cyber Petite Angel. When this card is summoned, you can add 1 Cyber Angel monster or Machine Angel ritual from your deck to your hand. You can only use it hard. It's a hard once per turn, which sucks. Because essentially, if it wasn't a hard once per turn, you could essentially do some crazy spamming with a Machine Angel ritual. 3 Honest. Now Honest is at 3. It's makes this deck better. Essentially, pitch it, run over anything. Don't have to do that too much because of E to 10 makes essentially makes Sapphira a absolute monster and gives Hell of Perfection a big booty, so nothing can get over it. And then 1 Arc Lord Christia. Essentially, you have 4 light fairy, or is it 4 fairy monsters in your grave. You special summon it. Yeah, exactly 4 fairy types. Special summon it from your hand, and neither player can special summon. And that causes a lock with Hell of Perfection that a lot of people can't really get over. On to the spells. We run a lot of spells. So I run 3 Cyber Angel Ritual. Essentially, it's the ritual card for the Cyber Angels. It has an effect in Grave where if a light monster / monsters I control destroy a battle or card effects to my graveyard, I can banish the card instead. We run 2 Dawn of the Herald. It has an effect as well, besides summoning, being a ritual summon, Herald Perfection. I can banish this card from my graveyard, and I can add back a material that I used for, Herald Perfection, and add it to my hand. So essentially, what I would used to do is use E to 10 if I had it to get Herald Perfection, and if I had Sapphira and her ritual card in my hand, add back E to 10, and then ritual summon Sapphira, essentially giving Herald Perfection a nice 4,800 booty, and Sapphira would be 35. She'd have 3,500 attack, making it a really good field. I also, for the last of the ritual spells, run Hem of Light. It has pretty much the exact same effect of Machine Angel Ritual with the floating, saves my monsters. Yeah. So that's it for the ritual spells. Now on to the other stuff. Run 3 Ritual Sanctuary. You have to run this card. It is the best spell card in this deck. So, or field, yeah, it's a field spell. But spell in general. Best spell in the deck. I can discard a card, add 1 Ritual Light monster, 1 Ritual spell card from my deck to hand, and then I can take any number of spell cards in my graveyard, and then shuffle them back into my deck, and then special summon a light fairy monster from my graveyard whose level equals the the level of whose level equals the number of spells I shuffled back in the deck. So that's why I'm like, if Petite Cyber Angel wasn't a hard once per turn, that would be absolutely amazing. Because you could just essentially abuse, this card could abuse, really abuse that, and essentially spam City Petite Angel, and then just add a bunch of add some stuff to hand, or a bunch of fairy monsters to hand. Though that's once per turn, though. Hard once per turn too on both effects. Also, why I wish Manju could activate his effect if special summoned. 3 pre-preparation of rites. You can only act hard once per turn. You add a ritual monster and spell. 3 preparation of rites. Just staples. You run these. Add 1 level or so, level 7 or lower ritual monster for your deck to hand, and then you can add a ritual spell from graveyard to hand. 3 terraformings. Because we do run 3 ritual spells in this deck. Usually with my ratios, I only do like if I ran 3 of the field spell, I would run 2 terraformings. But with this deck, essentially terraforming is always live, and you really would like to see this. So we're upping it to 3 for this deck. And then lastly, for the 1-ofs, Monster Reborn and Soul Charge. Self-explanatory. There is no extra deck for this deck. There is absolutely no point to play an extra deck, because you just want to essentially sit on your Sapphira and Herald Perfection and just essentially get a bunch of fairies to your hand. So why link them away or make Xyz's? There's just no point. If you want to do an extra deck, go for it. I'm not nothing's stopping you, but just as long as for the time I played with this, I actually almost never went to anything in an extra deck, so I didn't see a point in making one for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry I still don't have a stand for my phone. That's what I use to video this stuff. But I just couldn't find one yet, so sorry about that. Thank you guys for watching. Comment if you want to. Hit that like. If you like the video, subscribe if you like to see more of my content. And if you do, make sure you hit that notification button. And I will be back with a new video for tomorrow. Since there's no combos for this deck or anything, I mean, there's not really there's no point for me to do like a combo video or anything, because it doesn't really do much. It's just a sit on 1 or 2 monsters, and that's it. That's what this deck does. So I have something else in store for tomorrow, but see you guys tomorrow.